My name's Mike. You already know Charlie and Alex. This week we have Zombie Zach with us. And welcome back to the Nerdy Night Lounge, bitches, where tonight we're going to talk about those undead fuckers known as zombies.
Now, to be clear, we're going to be working with the stereotypical Dawn of the Dead style zombies. They bite you, you have 9 hours or so, you turn. If you die, you turn 2.
And let's face it, the reason we're sticking with those zombies is because if you believe in another zombie, you're probably fucking wrong.
We're also lazy.
That's true.
Well, to be fair, the World War Z, what they set up right is that they never focused on the zombies. The zombies were just the problem. They focused on the people, and the zombies were just something they had to deal with. And also the fact that no matter what happens, your inevitable fate is to become a zombie. So you have it's frightening. It's frightening.
Start off, zombie survival. Where's the best place to go when it all goes to fucking shit?
Well, there's the stereotypical places like the prisons, the superstores, but that's where everyone else will go. You have to go someplace. Most likely the people who are going to live are the people who are paranoid and have safe bunkers. Maybe not preparing for the zombie apocalypse, but a apocalypse of some
The
form.
people that have the Russian nuke.
Yeah,
bunkers and
exactly.
shit.
I mean, if you have a sub-basement vault with food, it's pretty much a counter to most apocalypses, including the zombie one.
Yeah, I think at that point I stay away from the Home Depots, the Walmarts. I think it comes to the point if you have a well-designed, sturdy house that you can throw some boards up, some furniture from the windows, and you're safe. Keep a map of the people that you know do extreme couponing. Their houses are there, they're free for the taking, and hopefully they just don't have it well guarded.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
let's face it, they're into coupons. They're probably not that tough and gonna die in the first week.
And that's actually a really good point, Mikey. The first thing you need to do is not worry about that. Stay stationary, and because the initial outbreak is going to be pure chaos. I mean, you're going to have planes crashing out of the sky. I mean, who knows how long that even lasts. I mean, eventually there will come a point where there's some semblance of quiet, horrible death, but within the first couple months, you're talking a worldwide just nuts.
Yeah, it's going to open it up to, like you said, the chaos, the plane crashes, car wrecks, looting.
Yeah.
At that point, making sure you're in your home, you're safe, that your family's safe. Once again, coming back to making sure your house is set up for not just zombies, but other people not being able to get in. That's the biggest ones I see on that. And I know this one may sound goofy, but turning off your Wi-Fi signal. Because say someone's looting, they're going by, pull up their phone. Oh, hey, I just connected to Wi-Fi. There's someone alive around here.
Yeah, that's exactly.
So that's going to open it up to a whole nother situation.
Yeah, because like the movie show, power's not gonna go out immediately.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna last.
Well,
The only way the power will go out is if people are hitting the lines with their trucks.
yeah, well, and that's true too. But at the same time, power is actually once the zombie apocalypse hits, power is actually now an abundant resource. You just have to find a way of harnessing it. Doesn't make noise that attracts them.
Yeah.
I mean,
Ever-growing popularity of the solar panels. You can pick up a solar panel from AutoZone, Walmart. That's $15. Can charge a car battery, and you got a cooking power or light for the night.
yeah.
Now, my thing is that, and while I agree that staying stationary at first is going to be good, I mean, it depends on the severity. I mean, eventually, it's going to get to a point where you're running out of whatever supplies you have. This apartment, my first plan is remove this wall and start raiding sideways across the top floor. And that's just for starters. But eventually, what little supplies you have, unless you've stocked up like doomsday people, is gonna run out. That's why we need a bike.
Well, in the beginning, the people are gonna be a bigger threat than the zombies.
Absolutely. Yeah.
This is true.
That's another thing. You have to. What will keep you alive is ruthlessness. If you were kind, if you were trying to show it on limited resources, you will die.
You gotta go Kotsky on this bitch.
Yes. Yes, you do.
My thing is,
Absolutely.
everybody's always like, we need to run to the hospital, we need to run here, we need to run there. Fuck that shit. We need to make it to the coast. Whichever coast is closest to you. Get on a boat with fishing supplies and shit to make fires, because you can boil the water to make it drinkable. You can catch fish to eat.
Yeah.
And keep sailing till you hit the first fucking remote island you find.
Or an oil rig.
Bam.
Yeah. Either one of those options would be great.
Well, I mean, you hit one of those military ships or yachts or something, they're gonna be stocked with food because of the rich fuckers.
Yeah. As you discover the outbreak and the issues you're doing it, you're going to adopt certain keepsakes for one. If someone is bitten, you kill them.
Yeah, at that point, it's not your mom anymore.
No, it's not. In fact, it is kinder to kill them. If someone is dying, great spoiler alert for anyone who has not played the first 5 episodes of the Walking Dead game.
Most people.
I have never played any.
It's awesome, and I won't spoil a huge part, but there's a very significant part where you have to make the decision of resuscitating a character or killing him before he wakes up a zombie. No matter what choice you pick, he still dies, but you're going to come across that. I don't care how good his chances are at survival of being resuscitated or not, kill him. It's too much of a risk. I mean, yes, you're going to wind up being a horrible person by the end of this. I make no illusions of that.
Oh, absolutely.
That is who will survive. I'm sorry. I mean, the assholes, the jerks, the people who backstab, the people
Team
who watch
Shane.
out.
Team Shane.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. Will be the ones to make it. That's ruthlessness will survive.
That brings up a really gross idea that I thought of. I had the chance to resuscitate them or kill them. If you make out with a zombie, do you get infected?
I would imagine so, because
Yeah.
you have the
Yeah,
you have the
it is
wild-
fluid contact.
Exactly.
So it
Yeah.
it could be considered an STD.
That's
Oh, man.
that's a new one. That's a whole nother topic.
I don't think this channel has a rating that will allow us to discuss
Yeah, let's not
zombie
go more
sex.
to that. Oh man.
That's too many B-rated zombie movies right there.
Is that like Z17?
So now, my personal opinion, this is if it ever happens and I get bitten, just kick me out of the house. Don't kill me. Just tell me to leave. I'll leave.
But you're still a threat at that point. If you're bit and you're conscious, you literally are a thinking person who will eventually become a zombie. That
That's
is
true.
no more dangerous level of threat, in my opinion.
That's true. But if I'm still conscious, I still have use as bait.
Look.
I can run out that door and just start running down the street.
And if
Hopefully,
you,
they tear enough of me apart that I'm no longer a
Well,
threat.
it's almost like Michonne did, where she ripped those zombies' arms and mouths off, and they became docile, and she traveled with them, and zombies ignored her.
Oh, and that's
So
kind of
you,
unique to Walking Dead, though.
you could be my guard dog.
Well, see, that also brings also to belief is if you're already infected, are they still going to come after you if you're bit, or if they don't have that sense, will they just let you walk down the street?
Well, I mean, you got to figure. I mean, it doesn't really seem that in most cases that it increases your senses. I mean, Walking Dead, sure, covering yourself in zombie goo seems to work, but overall, I mean, in most situations, zombies don't attack each other, but it's because they're acting a certain way. It doesn't seem like they really are attracted by whether or not you're infected. So I guess it just depends on the situation.
See, I look at it. I know it's not this movie not so much being a zombie base, but have you seen the movie Doom?
yes.
Yeah.
When they're doing the experiments on the creatures, and they put the swab with the human brain tissue across it and it reacts.
Yeah.
But if they use the tissue from someone who's already infected, it just lays docile.
Yeah.
So I believe, with the zombies allegedly bringing it back to, well, primitive ideas where they're just grunting to talk or communication, if any at all, just shambling around looking for food. I believe that's going to work the same way. Is if they can sense that matter or that you're not infected, then they're going to full out. They're going to attack you. But if you, once again, like you said, if you were bit, then who's to say you can't just walk down the street with, zombies on either side, just fine as can be.
Well, I mean, if that was
That's
the
true.
case, once a zombie bites you, others wouldn't attack and devour.
And that's kind of what I'm thinking is, I mean, once you're bitten and you're infected, unless it's like a gestation period
Hmm.
where it takes a while for you to develop that scent of infection,
actually
I guess.
incubate or something.
Well, regardless of the type of zombie, I know we're specifically sticking to it.
Mhm.
When it hits, it'll hit. Assuming the end of the world happens, those who survive now know what their enemy is. You'll
Yeah.
watch them, you'll study them. If you have any sense at all of science, you can take the tissue, you can understand how you're infected, you can understand maybe even how people who die become zombies. What triggers the effect once you're dead, regardless of being bit or not.
Yeah, the symptoms. How
Yeah,
long.
exactly. You'll know the symptoms. Odds are with 8 billion people on the planet, somebody will also be immune.
Mhm.
With so many genetic differences, there's really nothing saying that you're going to have to study them. So if the zombies, almost all zombies universally hate noise. So you want to use a gun usually as a weapon, maybe a sword or an axe. But you will watch them and learn to survive. Zombieland, the How to Stay Alive guide.
Yes.
Best example. I mean, he learned that just by watching all the people who died, all the people who made the mistakes that he didn't.
No, and that's a good point. But the thing is that lopping open a brain case or decapitating someone with most of the swords that you would find in most people's houses would be rough.
And all be replicas and
Yeah, and
Well-
even if you're just going with axes, that's a really narrow area to hit, and then you have to cleave through in one hit. And at
You don't
that
have to
point,
cut it
they're already
completely
close.
off.
The goal would be to kill it, but at the same time, by watching it, you're also going to know its vulnerabilities.
True.
You'll go for the knees. If you take its jaw off, it can't infect you anymore. If biting's the only way it does it, I mean, if we assume that scratching and biting, then you cut the hands off.
Oh, you also have to figure. I mean, how much of the blood that might be on it is actually from that?
Yeah.
Or
On
from
top of
people.
that, who says you need that? A sledgehammer would be just as effective as any bladed weapon.
Let's be
well,
tired.
see, that's also thinking ideally being one-on-one combat though,
Yeah.
because no matter what book, what game, what movie is,
They swarm.
it's hordes.
Yeah.
You're attacked by hordes. It's not one-on-one unless that is a specific case where
Yeah.
there's one coming up the stairs or something. But by the time you use a sword, an axe, a sledgehammer, is okay. Yeah, you successfully downed one zombie, but what about that 15 that's coming up on either side?
Yeah.
That's what makes them so terrifying.
Mhm.
Yeah,
For every
exactly.
one we lose, they get another.
Exactly.
And there's thousands of them compared to a handful of us.
and it'll come down to you'll hope. I mean, the only real way to stop zombies is just avoid them. There's no real. Zombies can suffer 1 billion losses, and that's nothing to them.
Well, I mean, you'd almost have to design something as terrifying as this is. That's like a halo that you wear around your neck or something that monitors your heart rate. And as soon as your heart stops, tink, right through the brain.
I think it's
Yeah.
fair. Absolutely.
Some sort of cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
That
Some
triggers
kind of
it.
monitor that's like, oh, your heart stopped.
Well,
kind of like
yeah,
they did in
'cause-
Saw, where that guy had the heart rate monitor on, and his heart stopped, the girl that was working on it died.
Yeah. Well, and it's more than, and this is exactly the point, because we're in a war. We're discussing zombies that they don't have to bite you to infect you. You just need to die and then you
Yes.
become one. So going up, I think that's an excellent idea. And then I think personally, I'm pretty confident that slowly being transformed into zombies is probably the worst way to die ever.
Hmm.
So I'd put a collar on you.
Yeah, because no matter what once again, what movie, even Walking Dead, even you had the fevers, you had convulsions, you had everything that it seems like to be excruciating.
Yeah, and almost every zombie is usually rotted flesh.
Mm-hmm.
It has just enough to be to kind of lumber, or in the World War Z's case, they could freaking jump 5 or 6 stories.
Let's not talk about that movie.
But if we've learned anything from Warm Bodies, it's if you can teach them how to love, they'll go back to normal.
I'm not gonna.
Oh.
I'm never gonna touch
If
that.
there was ever a happy zombie story, Mikey, that was the Disney variant right there.
Yes. I feel like they weren't happy enough with Twilight. They had to incorporate zombies. Man, oh man.
Oh boy.
So we've established is that You can be Captain Badass, I'm gonna kill you if you fuck up with people. But just your best option is just turn and run from the zombies themselves.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the game DayZ, where that's pretty much exactly what happens. You just avoid the zombies where possible. And
I think DayZ is an excellent training sim to be that ruthless dick I was talking about. 'Cause people excel at it in that game.
I believe that's become human nature, though, too.
Yeah.
Is to be an asshole is
That's
human
trolling.
nature. Yeah.
Yeah.
well, the other thing that you have to think about, as far as that being a training sim, is people in that game. I mean, they set out with the intent to kill everyone they see, and I feel like if it comes to survival, if it comes to you or me, it's one thing. But I don't feel like the idea of I'm just going to kill you without
It's dumb
Think about
because
it.
there's strength in numbers.
exactly. I mean, it's like if you can reason with someone, if they have something you want, and you can reason with them. Cool. If it's something you have to have, fight for it. But
At the same time, though, if you have the ability to just turn your asshole button on and off at any given point, okay, at this point, we'll be friends. All right, I'm gonna shoot you in the back of the head because I need.
That's
this is
just
food.
human nature.
Yeah,
but people
that's-
do that.
Well,
It's It
people
would be-
have done it, and under circumstances you can be pushed. But for someone who's never killed anyone, much less shot someone in the back of the head, that moment of hesitation would get me killed.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I could do it.
But we're also talking about a situation where you've seen possibly dozens, maybe hundreds of
Or you've
people.
watched your
Yeah,
family.
you guys have to
get
understand.
killed.
Like, I'm not going to survive the zombie apocalypse. I am 6'8". I trip easily. I make noise wherever I go. There's just no way.
You're just gonna be a big fucking zombie.
Yeah, I'm going to be a tank, and I would kill everyone.
Well, that's another thing. Variant zombies. Or you think it's just gonna be one, or is it gonna be like in Killing Floor?
The
where
thing
you
about
have, like,
mutation from a disease is that, yeah, it is possible, but there aren't a ton of diseases that cause that
Well,
severe mutation.
you have to think about it.
There are some.
Nobody's zombie apocalypse goes down. People aren't going to be maintaining the reactors and shit. People aren't going to be quarantining the biohazard shit in like waste deposit.
So you're thinking more like not so much a mutation based on the disease, but what that
That zombie.
chemical
almost
reactions,
living
yeah.
tissue has come in contact with. So
Nuclear zombie.
Like yeah,
Fuck no.
it's like
I'm out.
there's one
Guys,
water
I'm out.
supply. Great.
it's the cockroach of the zombies.
Oh my god.
I don't know.
So you're talking like the tank in this case would be, I mean, a guy that I guess has gotten too much radiation, and I mean it's like a tumor on his arm.
Yeah, and
Rather
that's
than
entirely
just-
possible because there's still biological issues. But I mean, just look at the size variations. I mean, I would be a bigger threat up close than other zombies, but I'd also be extremely uncoordinated. My size would give me disadvantages. I guarantee you, as often as I hit my head on fans now, in zombie form, if you go anywhere that has like 4-foot ceilings, you're safe. You are good. If a zombie was to bite an athlete over someone who is not an athlete, the athlete would probably catch people better.
Well, I think that also comes down to you brought up a while ago the rotting flesh, the different things like that.
Yeah.
Is I believe the zombie virus would start deteriorating the muscle and everything.
Yeah.
Along the line of what Alex was explaining is like some sort of radiation, different things like that that could not so much as tumor, but I'm a big guy.
Yeah.
My fascination with zombies gets people and like, well, you're not going to survive. You're a fat fuck. I'm like, well, you think about this
We have
is
so many nice people around.
I just need to stop you, and then I can get away.
Classic. I don't have to outrun the bear. I have to outrun
Exactly.
the bear. So if I shoot you in the knee,
But in that case, that I get bit is once again, like I said, as I'm a big guy. In that case, you being tall, is that puts us at lethal points.
yeah.
But if somehow we came across some nuclear waste and got these Spider-Man powers, and we somehow had that ability to move faster, or that last motion of imploding and just infecting everything around us, go into break into a safe house and it just infects everyone in the house.
Yeah, that's true too.
Next week on Nerdy Night Lounge, we cover Zach and radioactive goo and give him Spider-Man powers.
I would hate you forever. I would be an arch villain just because I didn't like you. I want you to know that. Right
Now,
Just saying.
here's another question as far as the radiation goes. I don't know anything about radioactivity, but could a zombie even? Because we're assuming that it's it's mostly dead tissue. It's not replicated anymore to heal. Would they be able to get the tumors that would cause that kind of mutation?
Well,
Or
it's
just
not. I would think it's just mutation to the cells themselves, whether they're living or dead. I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I think someone in the comments below. I know I keep telling you guys to do things. Tell us a little bit about radiation and how that affects people
Or even like
or dead people.
people die from radiation poisoning. Even.
That's true.
Well, what radiation does is it causes mutation in cells, and as the cells mutate, they change so much that it eventually kills you because they turn into tumors. That's how it works.
Yeah, well, even in the cases, I know in where that nuclear meltdown was, there was all that radiation leaking, and there was koi in a river or a local stream or something that they didn't look any different, they didn't act any different, but their radiation level was so high is it would have killed a normal person. And so at that point, after years and years of that exposure, what could say that wouldn't do the same thing to maybe a human that just has a higher resistance to it? And so finally, what's ever stopping that exposure to finally just like, okay, hey, look, there goes that mutation.
Yeah.
So back to the zombies.
Now,
Zombie Godzilla.
do we think zombies are going to be strictly cannibalistic? Were they only human? Or is it going to be more like a Walking Dead thing where they eat livestock and
Or
stuff?
they eat anything.
How
That's an
Herschel's-
interesting question.
Most
Herschel's cows led the zombies to him because that was a big food source.
Most
I
likely.
think it's going to be like that.
Most likely it would be like that, logically speaking, because you're not going... If the virus is specifically taking over the host and degrading it down to a point where the only way to get energy is to eat protein, it's not going to just... This cow is just not for me.
Well,
It doesn't have
think-
the fat quality. No, they're not going to be picky. It will eat anything in sight. And
No.
I'd also wonder, does that make zombie cows? Zombie crows?
Well, and that's kind of what I'm thinking is, I mean, I agree that they wouldn't be picky about it, but I would think that it wouldn't be so much the protein, but I mean, it's a virus. It wants to spread.
Yeah, it wants to spread itself, so would it waste its time
So,
if
if it-
certain things are immune?
Yeah, like if cattle and things like that are immune, maybe it specifically activates that cannibalistic instinct.
Well, the thing is, though, is you're giving far too much intelligence to a virus. A virus spreads to what it can, yes, but that's not... It doesn't ignore something. It tries to spread to that thing. That thing's
There's
immune to it, and it just stops there because it doesn't have...
Well,
anything to
I'm
do.
actually going to kind of bring up it's slightly subtopic to that. I've noticed this on Facebook and a lot of forums lately, bring up with the fungus
That's what I was.
that's
gonna bring up.
infecting ants and tarantulas.
Last
it'll-
of Us.
Yeah, it'll infect them. This fungus it'll stay dormant to them until it can actually take over its brain, pull it into an area where it knows the fungus knows this creature has a predator, and it will blossom into whatever it needs to be to grow out of this, or it'll be set up to be eaten by that predator, so it can start its cycle over, thus spreading. But that also comes to the fact is if a flea can become zombified, infect a rat, and a rat gets into a house, bites one person, that safe house is gone. Also coming to the point is, it could be something spread as easy as a black plague that erupted and killed thousands.
Right. Well, and you're right. And initially, there will be no defense.
Mm-mm.
There will be nothing. The people,
Just distance.
the people who were alive at the end, which odds are there'd be a fair amount of survivors, are the luckiest, the ruthless, the hardcore survivors who have seen all these mistakes.
Yes.
I mean, in order to completely defend against zombies, all the bad shit has to happen first. Or you've been on an island the entire time.
I think it's going to come down to it's not going to be how the ruthlessness. It doesn't matter how much you've stocked, how much you've prepared, how much training you have. It's going to come down to how lucky you are.
Yeah.
How lucky is it that guy got bit versus this guy, and someone shooting completely missed.
Who
Well,
really
and-
wins there? The person that dies day one, or the person that watches his whole family die
Exactly.
and kills hundreds of people who live?
Well, and ultimately, the winner is the zombies. No matter
Mhm.
what, I mean, as long as people are, even if everyone dies, the virus will stay going.
Well, I mean, it really depends there too. I mean, yeah, the plague itself would continue, but I mean, it depends on if one of those survivors I wanted to call them ass hats for a second there, because I mean that's what we're describing here. If one of these survivors is good enough that they can gather people, form a compound, and maybe a safe haven. If they can actually do that, and they can actually defend it properly, the plague may still be out there, but there's the chance for the comeback. But society would never be the same afterwards.
But that's with the assumption of human zombies.
Yeah, well, and on top
Yeah.
of that, as long as you have a society where corpses become zombies,
Hmm. And that's even just saying throwing over a wall.
yeah.
Because if, once again, as I said earlier, coming back to primitive ideas, or even earlier in the conversation, we were talking about staying away from Walmarts, Lowe's, stuff like that,
Yep.
is that's going to be something that was imprinted in that person's brain. Once they become, that's going to be a primitive idea. Like, hey, there was food here. There was stuff here that I needed. Who's to say that's not going to somehow be impacted in that brain still saying, hey, look, I remember in this compound there was a weak wall that we had to watch to say that zombie's not going to come around this way now.
So the idea being that the instinct of the person would carry over, just not the on-off switch for the cannibalism.
Exactly.
Or does it just unlock a different part of our brain and send us into primal mode?
I feel like
The appendix would have use again.
I feel like zombies are kind of a little bit something that wouldn't be primal, because I mean there are a lot of creatures that are cannibals by nature, but human beings aren't among them.
That depends on what part of the world you're in, too.
Well, that's the thing is, I mean, that's all something,
And now,
Well, you
We
got
are.
like the Indian tribes in Africa, the headhunters and shit.
and that's true, but they're not exclusively cannibals. They usually have some kind of a ritual associated with it.
yeah,
Yeah.
but at the same time, that also
It's-
depends on the scenario you put it in. You take any human, you put them in some place where they can starve to death, and their only choice is to eat a human,
Mhm.
they'll do it.
And
If you're
that's
starving
true.
to death, you go to primal mode on your own.
Yeah,
But in this case, that's not our primal mode. Our primal mode does not say, go out and eat all other humans. Whenever, I mean, it's fine food, sure, but that's not the first instinct. And that's kind of what I'm thinking. I mean, sure, if they were raised as cannibals, or they were raised, this is an acceptable source of food, sure. But I feel like that would have to be something that would be specific to the virus, not to the person.
No, that's true.
okay, I can see that.
I mean, there will be situations, sure, but
Well, I mean, if it's a virus too, it could specifically the fungus you were talking about.
Hmm.
It specifically gets to a point where
it overrides it.
it overrides the senses of the host,
Mhm.
and it develops its own echolocation.
Yeah, and see, 'cause-
And so the virus in a human, specifically targeted humans, could very specifically shut down or enhance the senses necessary to
Mhm.
specifically target humans.
exactly, because on what Alex was saying here, as well as touching on what you're saying, because at that point it's not the person imprinted anymore. To retract my statement, it's being that virus or fungus that's actually now thinking for the host and just using that host's senses to be able to do what it needs to.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
Nah, I agree.
You know,
Well, I mean, and there's so many ways to do it too. Because I mean, would zombies be cold? Like if you took infrared to them?
would the disease evolve even?
Well, see, that's also
Like,
is
could they
that
could they track people with infrared vision? I mean.
You mean could we track zombies with infrared vision, or would zombies get infrared vision? That's terrifying.
that is very terrifying.
That brings us back to radioactive zombies.
Like it's got heat vision. Get the fuck out!
I would say, because most of the body would be rotted. You wouldn't have the defenses against
I would say it'd be cold.
bacteria. Well, and I agree with you, but things like joints, because the zombies are still moving, they're still able to move. So the nerve clusters and the muscle around joints would have to be warm. I mean, it would have to be in order for it to expand and contract, releasing energy.
Well, see, because that's also the thing I was actually thinking of on the way over, is because, if a zombie's body is shutting down, those internal organs are no longer being used, the blood's no longer being pumped. So the nice thing, though, killing a zombie, there'd be no arterial thank you, spray, because that blood's no longer being pumped. But in the same case, that the gravity's pulling all this blood down to these zombies' feet, making them swollen and just bulbous until they pop because it can't hold all the fluid. At which point you have a bunch of crawling zombies, which could make getting in and out of cars very dangerous. But still, with your point on the joints, is that means there would still have to be some sort of influx in the organs, or they're just literally going to kill themselves.
There'd be something have to keep the brain going.
I mean, the brain would definitely be warm, no doubt about that.
Because I mean, I don't know if they've done it in any movies that I've seen, but zombies, do they have brainwaves? Has anybody, like in a movie, done a CT scan on a zombie to see if the brainwaves are similar? Or
I
what
think the
fuck?
zombie survival guide touched on that a little bit, but
Sedate the patient.
Well, I mean, because then you could even like pick up something that picks up, like instead of infrared, develop something that picks up brainwaves. If zombies had a different style of brainwave than human,
Well, I don't
Xavier
disagree.
X, the zombie
I don't
apocalypse.
disagree with that, but I don't think unless we're talking about stealth zombies, they're going to be that difficult to find. They're lumbering along, probably moaning. I mean, we're trying to run from them, but most likely, in all likelihood, we will be faster, and they will not care how much noise they're making because they don't have the upper level brain function.
but they don't. If you watch the shows, a lot of the times they don't make a lot of noise. You're sitting there in your house, which was safe. You open the door that was just safe 5 minutes ago. There's a zombie there, and he bites you.
Right. Well, and that's also we call that called dramatic stupidity. If,
People are stupid.
yeah, I mean, if you rig your area up appropriately, you should always know a zombie's coming because they don't have higher intelligence. They can't see things like alarms.
Well, see, that'd be something as simple as taking some tin cans or soda cans and putting them on some kite string around your house as
Absolutely.
a tripwire,
Yeah.
so that way you hear some sort of noise, such as we would have all been done for right there.
yeah,
Yeah.
we didn't hear him approach.
I heard your mom approach.
Haha.
Goddamn right. So how am I getting through here?
Carefully.
Dylan, everyone.
Say hi, Dylan.
This
I
would be
said
another
hi.
example of trolling.
So, and I agree that the traps would have to be, or the alarms rather, would have to be pretty simple, but at the same time, you would have to rig them at all different levels. I mean, it wouldn't be able to be just one string of tin cans or anything, because if you have the crawlers, or even if you have just zombies of varying heights. I mean, the midget zombie gets past the trap set for the taller one.
See, that would also think being as well is no matter what kind of alarm it is, something obviously you want loud enough to be able to hear, but also thinking about it is you'd hopefully want something that could trigger a silent alarm in your home to see a flashing light or something, because also with the popular belief saying you got cans clanking together or some sort of crazy ass siren going
That's
off.
gonna attract
That's
more.
going to attract
Yeah.
attract more in, and so much good that alarm did, you just killed yourself.
It's like, yeah, you knew they were coming, but now all the other zombies know where you are.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, and the people, how we perfect the alarm sales for that period is people who get eaten by zombies, those alarms failed.
No,
And the people who don't, those alarms work.
it goes back to this: solar panels to charge our Bluetooth headsets that ding when the zombies.
Yeah,
get out.
exactly. I feel like this would be a
Download
great,
your zombie app today.
I was gonna say I feel like this would be a great strategy, marketing strategy for local alarm salesmen. Let's zombie-proof your home.
Yeah. Especially
Alarm
for our
security, you can
generation.
get all sorts.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, after the zombie apocalypse, the survivors, as they're rebuilding like society,
Mhm.
instead of bug exterminators, would you call in? Oh, fucking Dale Gribble in his zombie killing truck.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. You always get the call. We'll be there Tuesday between 3 and 7.
That doesn't work for me.
I have to stay home until they get here.
Not only do I have to stay home, I have to stay in this room. Eventually, I'm gonna have to shit. It's gonna be pretty ripe in
Well,
here.
hopefully, you're just in the bathroom.
Like, I can see a lot of fraud happening. He just waits until the zombie kills the person. And then,
You have to pay up front.
yeah.
Be like,
Come in, steal their shit.
yeah.
So he comes in with a man catcher, holds the zombie against the wall. It's gonna be
How did the
$75.
virus happen a second time? Swindlers, man. They just could never get enough.
Actually, I think that might be what triggers the zombie apocalypse. That one guy goes say, "I'm gonna have a business adventure. I'm gonna be a zombie exterminator," and then everyone makes fun of him. There's no such thing as zombies. And then the outbreak happens.
I think
it was that guy.
I think he would be killed pretty quickly. We know you did this for money.
I think it's
You sellout.
almost going to be more like The Stand. Have you ever seen The Stand?
I've read it.
Well, essentially, it's
Ugh.
a disease control center where they're researching and creating diseases.
Okay.
One gets out. This whole town goes on quarantine. This one guy's like, "Oh, I'm dead anyways, but I'm going to be a fuck and run away because that'll save my life, even though we're all already infected." And infects half fucking countryside.
Well, that's what we were talking about earlier with it too. Is are you gonna if Alex gets bit, he be released? I think it was actually you that made the statement. Well, you're at that point you're already going to be a zombie. Would you be killed, or do we make you a risk now of coming back in?
I will say that.
I'm totally down for shooting anybody in the head that gets bit.
I will say that. Well, I already know you're willing to kill me. Your little zombie expedition across the U.S. I was the first guy's head you blew off.
That's because you scare me, Charlie. Charlie bit me.
If that is
Zombie
Alright.
Charlie bit
So,
me.
it sounds like it's time to start bringing things in. Mystically.
Mystically.
The Mysticles. So,
Did you?
yes I did. I kind of circled into someone else's name.
as much fun as it is to read about it, watch it, play it. The zombie apocalypse would suck.
It's gonna be fucking terrifying.
It would be the worst possible apocalypse to go through, in my opinion. Nuclear rollout really isn't that bad. You either get sick and die, or you're incinerated upon the initial blast.
Plenty of Twinkies.
Yeah, very true.
I was a little
But
bit worried
the
when
zombie-
Hostess closed
the
down. I'm like,
zombie-
this is a sign.
But the zombie apocalypse, I mean, even if you were to survive, let's say you're a hardcore 65-year-old zombie survivor, what do you have to live for? It's not like it's a job you retire from. Well, I'm going to stop, taking all these precautions and just kind of sit back on the porch and let a zombie eat me. I mean, at all times through the course of
I
your
think
life.
I'd shoot myself before
Yeah.
I let that happen.
Exactly.
I don't think I would do that. I would, if I was that old, I'd sit on my swing on my front porch, have a box of bullets next to me, just a satisfaction. Just one more down as they come up.
Fucking drunk
Until-
as shit, so
until-
when
yeah.
you get bit.
Until they get me.
Yeah, but then what happens if you do that? I mean, ultimately, no matter what point you die, you still become a zombie.
Well, that's why you get bit. You save that one last bullet.
That's when suicide hotlines have so much more significance.
Yeah, suicide is the answer if you're bit by a zombie.
Yeah, and only then.
Only you can prevent forest fires.
But you can't prevent zombies.
But
So-
that pretty much sums it up, I think.
Yeah.
Make sure you guys go on Facebook and check out Zombie Survival Awareness. It's a page Zach started. I'll link it in the comments below. And again, my name's Mike. Here's the Unicorn Charlie, the Wizard Harry, and Zombie Zach. Have a great night, bitches.